I did not, but I need to. Yeah.
I read those emails, by the way. It's interesting.
Got a couple minutes yet, a couple seconds. 45 minutes, give or take. Did you take lots of pictures? Oh, then you have to put them into an album and have to come up to my office and show me. Because you'll be the third person that's gone there and I've seen all their albums so far.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know. It's just
Commissioner Dusty said he's got a slide projector downstairs. You can come up and show your slide projector.
That'll work.
On the carousel.
Ready?
Yep, go ahead.
We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome and good evening. This is the August 23rd, 2021 meeting for the Shawnee County Board of County Commissioners. This is a public hearing on the 2022 budget for Shawnee County. My name is Kevin Cook. I serve as the chair, representing also District 2. Joining me today is Commissioner Bill Rippon, representing District 1. Good evening.
Hi.
And Commissioner Aaron Mays, representing District 3. Good evening.
Good evening.
Madam Clerk, in order for us to keep in an orderly fashion, having met with Jim Krause, the County Councilor, I'm going to make a motion to open the public hearing. This is a motion to open public hearing on the 2022 budget, and the Shawnee County intent to go above the revenue neutral rate.
Do they have to be separated?
It's one motion for both parts.
Okay, one more.
Okay, second.
Yes. Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0. At this time, the public hearing is now open. If there are any members of the public or department heads or county employees that wish to address the County Commission regarding the 2022 budget, please come to the podium, state your name, and you are free to speak.
May I ask a question?
Yes, Mr. McIntosh.
Okay. Oh, Earl.
Earl.
Yeah.
Why don't you come up to the podium
Oh, sorry. Yeah, my fault.
and then say your name.
My name is Earl McIntosh. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So you're asking questions on the specific budget, not the tax increase.
You can comment on either one.
Okay, that was my question.
Yes.
Let me get my water and I'll just stay up here.
All right.
And may I bring you each a piece of paper? to
Yes,
each
sir.
answer? Okay.
Not in mind for the clerk. So you can keep that.
Oh,
Thank you.
yep. Anybody else wants I got several here listing all the mills they take out. You want one? You pass it around. Shows what the... Okay.
You're on.
Introduce myself. Do I put
Just
where
say-
I live or anything, or
Just
just?
say your name. That's
Okay,
it.
Earl McIntosh. I live a longtime resident of Topeka, Kansas. I'm here to talk about the proposed mill levy increase in taxes that you guys are proposing. Now, before we get started, I happen to like all three of you guys. I mean, I really do. I think you guys work hard, and I mean, it's a thankless job. But I'm not here to. I guess I'm upset, I'm stunned, I'm shocked, I'm disappointed. I cannot believe you want to raise our taxes, our property taxes. In light of what has happened with COVID, unbelievable. I'm lost for words, I guess, but I feel like that was a mean-spirited thing to do. I mean, I really do. People are hurting so bad. I'm not going to name the company I work for, but I sell home insurance. And I can tell you, in Topeka, home ownership's in trouble, okay? And that has nothing to do with my job. That's just my perception out there. we need, we're further putting nails in coffin. I know that you guys want to raise our taxes, but so does everybody else. And I don't have anything prepared here, but I want to go to, you guys are taking more than your fair share. Why? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 entities that take out of my property taxes. Why do you get the highest mill levy, 49 compared to the city? I don't think your budget's bigger than the city. And then what services, I think Topeka provides me more of the services, and most of Topeka provides you most of the money for your budget. And I feel like that we're paying about 20% above what we should be paying you guys. I don't think it's fair, especially the people of Topeka, because if you live out in the county, you don't have a city, 39 mills. I mean, I appreciate the services. Obviously, we have recreation and stuff like that, but why do you guys need 48 mills? And now you want to increase that, how many more mills? 10 mills or 20 mills? I don't even remember. I just got off work. But why do you get to take so much taxes away from us? It's unbelievable. And I would like that question answered, please. But you guys got a bailout from the government for COVID. You got $80 million, if I'm correct on that figure. Yeah, you got some money, though. Yeah, okay, right. And I don't mean to project that, but you got money. You got a lot of money. And I can tell you, you've raised my mill levy already. So you've raised the mill levy on every house already in Shawnee County, and especially in Topeka. Is that not enough? That's the way it's supposed to be. You raise the mill levy a little bit, that increases everybody's property tax, but you want to raise the mill levy plus increase our taxes. I mean, I'm incredulous. It doesn't even make sense. So let me go back to my original question, and I don't mean to be, I'm not sarcastic, but why do you guys get to take the most mills out of everybody, and more than the city of Topeka? And it's open to anybody, I guess.
I'm going to comment to yours, but I just want to say, I don't want us to be here all night doing back and forth, but I will
Fair
respond
enough.
to your.
Okay, thank
I will
you.
respond to yours,
I
Earl.
understand. You're here to listen.
So the last mill levy increase by Shawnee County was in 2013 for the 2014 budget. So there's not been a mill levy increase from 2014 through 2022. We were able to hold that mill levy constant, and what we saw was that the gap, or the amount that we had for operations, kept shrinking and shrinking. In 2021, we actually deficit spent, which meant we spent more money than we brought in revenue. We used some of the cash reserves that we had saved up in order to make that budget work. And so this is a adjustment for those 8 years that we did not have any increase. So
Thank you. I appreciate that, but I have a question, a follow-up question with that. Each year, property values are going up, and that's supposed to compensate. That's kind of the way it's done here. You raise our property values, and then that causes us to pay you more taxes. So I think there's a disconnect here. So I don't even know why you should ever have to raise our taxes.
And just to let the public know again, the amount that we're looking at is an increase for a $100,000 house is an increase of less than $50 per year.
I'm telling you that, and I respect that, but I find that you personally do not offend me. I find that offensive when you break those numbers down to a little bit like that, when that $100,000 home in Topeka is destroyed. They're at max limit they can pay. So you add $50 more onto $100,000, plus their insurance went up, plus their food taxes go up, plus the city's raising their taxes, plus the Metro Transit, plus the airport, plus Washington University, plus the school districts, and that all adds up. And I feel you don't empathize with that, and it's really upsetting. And I don't feel like you realize how hurting people are right now. Everybody has to buckle their belts because of this COVID, and we're getting ready to have another shutdown. I just feel that's coming. And so lots of people have lost their jobs. I don't know what to say. I just don't think it's fair. You've got to do more, and I know you already have, I guess, more with less, but you need to do less with less. You need to reflect the economic status of the community you serve. And that means buckling your, I mean, you're destroying that $100,000 house, or even somebody has a $300,000 house. So somebody works hard and improves themselves and buys a better house, then they get taxed out and expensed out of that house that they worked so hard to buy and to purchase. And I don't know, I wish I had a fair statement. I have to work like everybody else. I think I'm the youngest guy here, and that's respectfully to everybody here. So I don't have to, I try to get things prepared, but everybody's working to their death to pay our taxes, to buy food, and all the amount of taxes we pay. And I just think it's mean-spirited. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Errol, I was just going to say that, in 2013, I think that you gave me as a brand-new commissioner much of the same speech that you're giving today. And I remember it vividly of what you came to talk to us about, and I can tell you that during those years that there was no mill levy increase, comments such as yours are the ones that we took into place of how we can make things work without a mill levy increase. Unfortunately, there are periodic readjustments as with anything. So, the price of milk is different today than it was in 2014. The price of all goods and services, and as much as I don't like it, sometimes there are those readjustments, but I appreciate your statements. Commissioner Mays?
Earl, I like you too, so thank you for that.
Yeah, you.
But a couple things I just wanted to address that you had asked, and one point of clarification is that you said several times that we want to raise your taxes, and that is unequivocally wrong. We do not want to raise taxes. I mean, I can say that I think I can speak for all three of us, that this is not something, we tried very, very hard to make cuts wherever we could find possible places. Some projects that need to get done are not getting done, that type of thing. You had asked about the city, why our mill levy's higher, and
Yes.
the main reason is because they have sales tax and we don't.
Okay.
So
That's actually one of my questions I wanted to answer. I appreciate that.
Yeah, so we also administer the jail. We also have Parks and Rec. And if you go back, the county took over Parks and Rec from the city.
Right, I remember that.
My understanding is the city did not lower their mill levy when they gave it to us. So, I mean, there are reasons. We've taken on quite a bit of extra cost with COVID. Yes, we did get ARPA funds. I think it was about 35 million, 34 million, something like that. And we're in the process of allocating those and figuring out the best use of those funds.
Sure.
There's a lot of strings tied to that money, though.
Okay, that I can understand.
Also, our expenses have gone up tremendously. Just the sheriff's office alone, their staffing, they're understaffed. They have a hard time finding folks, so we have to raise wages. We also know that they drive almost 2 million miles a year, and fuel costs have gone up almost $1 a gallon. So the cost of their fleet has gone up. And they're not the only ones that drive. Our Parks and Rec, our Public Works, everybody's got vehicles. So that's an expense. We've also had a hard time hiring corrections officers, solid waste. Our wages they're being underpaid basically, and we're not able to hire people right now. So the way to get people is to raise wages. So we've done a wage study that we hired a consultant to basically look at all of our wages across the board over the last several months. Part of this budget is an anticipation of what that wage study is going to say. We're probably going to get it back soon, but the preliminary results are saying that we're going to have to fund almost $2.5 million more in wages this year.
And that's on the budget.
And that is on the budget. I mean, and honestly, if we took that out and we said nobody gets a pay increase, that would probably take care of a good portion of this mill levy increase. However, I'm a firm believer that if we're going to spend money, our people that work for us is the best place to spend it, honestly.
I agree with that
They're
100%.
the greatest asset we have are our
Totally
employees.
agree.
So, I'll leave it at that, but I just want to address a couple of things that you said.
Well, so what you just said about the county is also happening to the people of Shawnee County and the people of Topeka. You know what I'm saying? The exact same things. Building, labor, material costs are up 250%. People can't go to, in the last 3 months, that's how much they've gone up for regular people to afford. Groceries have gone up. Inflation is expected. We have so much debt. We have so much bailing everybody out. Inflation is expected to go off the roof. People's salaries aren't going up in the private sector either, just like you guys. They don't have that opportunity. They don't have a governing body that says, we're going to rate, you're going to get I want them to have the proper amount of money. Don't get me wrong. But you guys can just take from us and spend and raise, where somebody working in the private sector, they don't have that opportunity. And they're not making more money. And their food has gone up. Their taxes have gone up for these other entities. I mean, it just never ends. And you can't tax ourselves into prosperity, and that's how I feel we're doing. Okay, final thing, because I know there's a lot of people here that want to speak. Okay, I know that you guys have, most houses have had property increases. So is that not covering? What's the difference from last year? This is my last question. Difference from last year from the property values increase, how much more money have you taken in?
That should be reflected on your budget when we look at the revenue, and I'm looking towards, but as to how much the appraised value increase and what will be the amount of the appraised value increase, I'm going to have to defer either to the audit finance, and they can come back up and maybe answer that.
Okay.
Or to, I don't believe Steve Bauman's here.
Betty Griner, Director of Administrative Services. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but I believe our assessed value went up about 3.48%.
Okay.
And what does that come out to? So what does 3.48% mean? Does that mean $20 million, or does that mean? Okay. So that wasn't really planned into the budget per se, because you're still waiting on that true number or whatever, right?
Correct.
Okay, that's fair. Okay.
Anything else, Earl?
No, and I appreciate your time. I
Thank you.
told you up front, I like all you guys. It's just, there's hard times going on right now, worse than 2013 because of the pandemic, and we're being shut down, and just, things are just so different from 2013, the last time I was here. So, thank you guys. I appreciate your
Thank you.
service.
Carol?
I want to thank Earl because I think I can answer some of his questions. My name is Carol Marple, and I am a resident of Shawnee County, and I have some handouts to share. Sorry, better get some comments, unless I gave them to somebody, which I think I did. Sorry, I'll get a little more organized here. Here they are. I like numbers. So on these two sheets of papers, these are two houses that my husband and I own. One is in Auburn, Kansas, and one is in the city of Topeka. I went from 2012, and I'm not going to read all these numbers, but the value of the house down to 2020 with our taxes. And I think Earl asked the question, in 2020, because of the increase of property values, the county picked up $2,200,000 $130,595.80. It went up 2.55. I got these off my tax statements, and I did go to the appraiser's office for a little help. I did not put the mill levies down for the city because I felt like that was not something that was pertinent to this discussion. And as Earl said, we are also facing increases from the state, Metro Topeka Airport Authority, the school districts, and the Topeka Public Library. Those are what the city and the county pay together. We already are paying higher taxes on our property values, and that points this out. And I did want to say back to 2013 and when the county took over Parks and Rec, they raised our taxes considerably, those of us in the county, but the city also got raised. The county got an additional $7,605,044.90 worth of taxes from us in the year 2013. Now that is 11.51% increase. That was to help fund and maintain the Parks and Rec. And I think everybody in this audience would agree that didn't happen because our Parks and Rec department is in dire straits. I also want to point out, though, in that year when the city should have been decreasing their mill levy, they raised their taxes 13.32%, bringing in to them $4,782,352.58. As a taxpayer, and I can only speak for myself, I want to see my tax dollars making improvements in my community. My roads need improvements. Granted, they are not as bad as those in the city, but they will be if we don't keep improving them. I also want to ask, and I've not been able to get an answer, what is the county's carryover reserve from funds from the last several years? It should be in the millions of dollars, I believe. No, you keep telling me, I want to know what the total carryover is. I mean, we had $33 million. Did you spend it? I mean, I know we gave some to Parks and Rec. I know we gave some to the Expo. That money should still be in there. And I would like to know the dollar amount. The 25% that from the overall cost of the budget that has been put in a fund for reserves.
No, it has not been spent.
Well, what's the number?
I'm sorry, Carol, I don't have that number for you right now. I mean, if you want me to send you an email or have that number for you, if you, Betty.
Well, that's, okay, we can move on, and I'll just say.
Hold on. Ms. Greiner has the exact number for
Well,
you.
I don't
Carol.
have the exact number. It is 28 million plus. I mean, you know, between 28 and 29 million. It's 28 million something. And I'm sorry, I sent that in an email. You must not have gotten the second one, because I sent it in the second email.
No, I didn't get that. Okay, so we have approximately $28 million in excess reserve.
No, those are in reserve, not excess reserve.
All right, in reserve funds. It's terminology, I guess. In reserve funds, $28 million.
Words matter, Carol, so yes.
Okay.
In reserve.
You're a lawyer. I'll give, sorry. Okay, so we have the $28 million, and I agree with Commissioner Mays. We need to pay our folks. And if $2 million is, give or take a few dollars, what we have slated for increase in wages, why do we not take it out of this fund rather than raise our mill levies? People cannot afford it. I couldn't agree more with Earl. And I'll give you an example. A lot of you have school-age children, or I have grandchildren. A 29-cent spiral notebook last year was 29 cents. I went to buy school supplies for some of my grandkids. That very same notebook, I found one place that was about 29 cents. And most of the time, they were $1. You know, the increases that we're all facing at the gas pump, you talk about the sheriff's department driving their miles, they have to drive those miles. But also, we have to look to the future and see how things are going. You know, you got to lock in prices. You've got to do a lot of stuff. We farm. We're scrambling right now to find parts. I mean, it's a shortage everywhere, and they're going through the roof. Our costs are unbelievable. And the people that have a job, that have a set wage, that come home every week with that money, these $20, $10, $5, they all add up, and they cannot afford them. I do not believe this is the time to raise any form of taxes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Board of Directors, County Commissioners. Joseph Ledbetter, resident of Topeka and Shawnee County, because anybody who lives in Topeka pays those Shawnee County taxes too, and we are members of Shawnee County. So I want to say a couple quick things about Parks and Rec, then I want to get into the general budget. I am on that advisory board, as you all know. I've lobbied and fought to get maintenance money back into Parks and Rec. And it is correct what was said, that the city did not cut their mill levy as part of that deal. Now, unfortunately, it wasn't put in the deal, you know, and as much as Mr. Archer complained about it, and he was right to complain, he voted against the increase when he was still with the city, when they did it in 2013. Why didn't the lawyers put it in there? I just don't. I wasn't part of that writing. They could have had it. It could have been crafted, could have been wordsmithed, but it wasn't. So they raised their taxes instead of cutting. As far as I'm concerned, right now my taxes should be 5 mils lower in Topeka than what they are, because they never cut that mill levy that they saved. So they're spending it on other things. But Parks and Rec, I sent you an email. I hope everybody got it, and I do ask that it be made part of the record. If the clerk doesn't have it, I want to make sure that she asks me for it, or I can send it to her.
Send it to me.
But a couple things I said was, there's part of Parks and Rec that everybody absolutely loves, and it doesn't cost that much. And it's our playgrounds, and it's our bike trails. And when I say it doesn't cost that much, even on the bike trails, we get money from the state, and we're building a beautiful trail over Deer Creek finally. I love it. I've driven by, I'm seeing the excavation. I will ride that. I love to ride bikes, and a lot of Shawnee County and Topekans do. We love it. And those things go through our neighborhoods. They add value to our neighborhoods. When we do the little neighborhood parks, that adds value to those neighborhoods. It adds tax base to those neighborhoods. Go to Collins Park and see what that new equipment has done for that whole neighborhood. That neighborhood is very sought after by young couples. They like that area. And that's not the only place. We did a good job over the last year and a half, and I appreciate the director allocating money for that and the commissioners going along with it. We upgraded about, I think, 15 park playground in all the districts. There needs to be more. So the nice thing about playgrounds and bike trails is you don't have to hire a lot of personnel to maintain them, especially the playgrounds. Yes, the pads need replaced. They need replaced over at Gage. I'm sure those are at least 20 years old. I don't know the exact date, but a lot of kids, thousands of kids a month use that equipment. And that's an image of our city. That's quality of place. All those little parks where the kids are playing adds, in my opinion, tax value, increases the tax value of the surrounding neighborhoods, and most of all, increases the health of these kids and the adults riding the bikes and doing the walking trails. But that doesn't mean I want to leave out the rest of Parks and Rec. One of the problems that we've got is we took over the Overland Station, and it has not been bringing in revenue. So please don't punish Parks and Rec and take that money from already existing programs to try to fund that. We're just going to have to fund it, okay? And so I do support the Parks and Rec budget, but I do want to tell you there's several parts of that Parks and Rec that absolutely really benefit tens of thousands of people. And when you do a cost-benefit ratio, those playgrounds and those bike trails are very cost-efficient for this community, and they send a good image. Now, I want to talk about the overall budget. The average residential house, I don't know that it's 100,000. I think mine's definitely over that, and I think a lot of Topekans pay a lot more than, they've got a house worth a lot more than 100,000. The people inside the city generate 2/3 of the county budget. That's a fact. So, you know, at least please hear when city residents and county residents, all of us, talk about holding the line on increases. Right now, and I did talk to the appraiser's office, I'm not going to say that these were exactly accurate, but they told me this is probably accurate. Our residents are going up at least 5%. So the residents is going up. Maybe it's only going up at 3.5% when you factor in industrial and warehouse and the things that may be owned by out-of-town owners. Not that all of them are. We've got local business people too that rent and pay those taxes. I pay taxes through my rent where my office is. All of that matters, okay? It adds up. But the commercial did not take the hit in the appraisals that the residences has. And so people are going to see that in December, no matter what you do. There's already going to be there's already a built-in increase. I want to talk about reserves. I know that the reserves are 25%. I just did the math, and if I'm looking at the 120.5 million, that's $30 million. So whether it's 28 million or 30 million, that's a lot of money in reserves for a budget this size. When I was doing my MPA training and classes at KU, it's the top school in the country, check it out, they told us repeatedly 15% is where you put your reserves. And so when we've had COVID and we've had all these buffeting of our economy, especially locally, I think it's time to ease up on that reserve standard that you've set of 25%. Why not 22%? Why not 20%? But at least move it down and fill in this gap for the wage increases. I'm okay with that. It's $2.5 million. It's a lot of money, but maybe that's where it should go. But it shouldn't. You shouldn't have to put that on the taxes. You can take it out of reserves. Now I know I'm going to get arguments up here. Well, that's the way it is. That's what we've said. Well, policies can change, folks. I think at one point I looked at county reserves and they were at 7%, and that's way too low. But I was taught that. You never want to get your reserves that low. But when you set reserves, and a few years ago it was at 33 million, so we had 33%, that money was just sitting in the bank. It wasn't helping the public. It wasn't helping maintenance with the Parks and Rec. We came down and lobbied for that money. And some of it went to the expo and some of it went to Parks and Rec. And you, well, some of you are here, voted for that. And that was fine. That was good. That was a good move. When we're facing the inflation that we are, I think it's okay to adjust the reserves a little bit. It's not dangerous. You haven't taken on a lot of debt, thankfully, unlike the city. You know, it's good. But, you know, I believe that the reserves should be talked about. And if they're not going to be talked about, then they're not, but they should be. And I think it's just good public policy to have that as part of your discussion. How much does it have to be safe? How much does it have to be before we have hit that rainy day that we talk about? Well, we're saving for a rainy day. Isn't it a rainy day? Shouldn't we talk about that? Okay, I've repeated myself quite a bit here, and I don't want to wear out the welcome. I respect all of you. You know that. I actually am pretty pleased with your finances as compared to when I talk to the city. But we're not talking about the city tonight. We're talking about the county and things you could do to avoid a massive mill levy increase. And I do consider 3.9 mills massive compared to the fact that we haven't done it in a while. It's going to be a shock already what people are going to see with inflation on their house appraisals. And so just hear us out, think about it, think about having that discussion. Can we move that a little bit? Can we move the needle down a little bit and help save people a little bit more money come December? Thank you.
Nope.
Good evening. I'm going to try to read this to save time.
If you could tell us your name.
I will. My name is Richard Miller. I live at 1713 Southwest Stutley. I'm a retired businessman. I have no pension. And I also have trouble seeing. The budget presented is very interesting, and I really I was going to ask about the reserves myself, and I think that was well said. In our situation, as you might surmise, our property taxes seem to go up about 10% a year and have for the past 9 years. Some years ago, I was still working and had an adequate income, and we were able to pay taxes, but as many of our taxes were a write-off in those days. So the exorbitant property taxes were bearable at that point in time. The tax laws changed that. It's kind of like taxing Social Security. That changed that pretty quickly. Now that I'm retired and these taxes become a real issue, they continue to rise as my income was doing many years ago. As you might guess, our income is not what it used to be. At this point in time, we're looking at other places to live in our retirement. Kansas has been our home forever. Our children still live here. But we are no different than the senior migration that's taking place in this state. I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but Kansas is not a destination state. And seniors are migrating out of this state like Afghanis going out of Kabul. The simple fact is, nobody will publish that. Personally, and selfishly I guess, I'm a disabled Vietnam veteran. I do receive some subsistence from the VA. However, I find that Shawnee County and the state of Kansas have literally ignored the plight of senior citizens and our veterans, especially the disabled veteran. One would think it an embarrassment to the state, but it really isn't. Statistically, Kansas is ranked among the lowest third in the United States for tax relief for disabled veterans. Maybe I should repeat that. We are 1/3 in the low bracket of this country for tax relief to veterans, and especially disabled veterans. Last session of the state legislature presented a House Bill 2440. This bill would have given disabled veterans some relief on property taxes, and I find that Shawnee County did not support that. And it was imperative that they did support that, or the bill wasn't going to make it. So evidence that our county seeks to ignore not just seniors, but the disabled veteran. In summary, I would just respectfully ask that you revisit the House Bill number 2440 in the next session and try to give some tax relief to low-income seniors and disabled veterans. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member of the public wish to speak?
My name is Terry Roberts, and I chair the Shawnee County Parks and Rec Advisory Committee. And I've already spoken to you once about our ideas, and I appreciate that, my 18 minutes. It was timed. And I like you all, too. I respect you more. This is a tough job, and it's thankless, okay? I have a little bit of a different perspective. I just wanted to share that about taxes. I was raised in foreign countries, and they were very poor countries. And so whenever people complain about tax, like, you know, you live in the United States, you won the lottery for living where it is a wonderful country, even though we pay taxes. So I have a different perspective about that. I wanted to share that with you. I also have a different perspective about the Vietnam conflict, okay? Because during that time, I did not live in the United States, so I was not aware of all the violence and everything, and my perspective is different, just like it's different about taxes. So, but I came here to talk about the funding for the Parks and Rec. Joe was correct. He serves on our committee, and a lot of you may hear from our committee members, is we have two things that we were concerned about. One is our deferred maintenance, and I know that you did the best you could do with our budget, so we appreciate the amount that you gave us. It was only $41,000 less than what the department submitted. And then our second concern, it's probably going to be a growing concern, is the Great Overland Station. Inheriting it, it's a jewel, but it's almost like a diamond in the rough. It's going to need some work. It's going to need work to become an event center or a destination or a museum or all those kinds of things, another railroad days, and they've got to have time to work on that so that they can bring in the revenue to support the Great Overland Station. And by adding it to our budget, and it's over $300,000 just to operate it, just operationally, that is of concern to the advisory committee because it could displace some funding that is needed for other activities, for programmatic activities. And the other thing that the advisory committee has really said accolades about are the trails. Is during this COVID-19 time, people have spent more time in our parks and then been spent more times on our trails, and we've received a lot of positive feedback. So the support that you have given us for the increase in the trails of Deer Creek, the connection that we've been waiting on, probably a lot of trail riders have been waiting on, is very much appreciated. So I just want to thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
Good evening. Thank you for hearing us. My name is Kim Judd. I am also a retired veteran, military, disabled. I've lived here for about 4.5 years, moved all over the country, and I highly second the comments by Mr. Miller a few moments ago. But I am curious if I heard correctly, being an old fellow like I am, although I've had both shots, I think I heard that we have a county reserve of 28 million, and we have 31 million, did I hear correctly, of federal funds that are tied up with strings from the federal government. Being a retired civil servant and retired military, I understand being tied up with strings. However, if you add those two dollar figures together, you come up with a pretty hefty amount. When will we know when we can untie the federal strings? Will we abdicate that money to other states that seemingly have figured out what the strings are? I moved from Texas, and I can tell you that the taxes here are just exorbitant, particularly during this COVID time. But it just seems to me that with all of the federal money, albeit with strings, that some effort should be given to untying the strings before we increase such as we have here. And I've never lived anywhere where there wasn't some benefit to compensate for being a disabled veteran. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Lynn Collier, and I do live in Shawnee County. Never done this before, so, whew. I've sat here and listened to everybody talk, because I really came kind of with one objective, and that was the mill levy. But after listening to everybody and what they're saying, I really think you guys need to re-look at this budget. You've got reserves. I was president of a club, and we kept some money in reserves because we wanted to make sure that we could fulfill what our club was supporting. So we would keep reserves in case our fundraising didn't meet the qualifications or meet our goals. So after listening to everybody here, this has been very enlightening, and I have to agree with a lot of them. The mill levy rate, what I actually came here about was that the Senate had passed a new, they took the cap off of the mill levy, so that, and they used the term revenue neutral rate. Yeah, that's a good term to throw out there. I just wonder how many people really know what that means. And then listening to the reserves that you have on reserves, I'm going, of all times of doing what you're doing is absolutely insane. I don't have words for it. My property taxes have gone up every year, last 3 years. Maybe not as much as anybody else, but say it's 5% every year. And then I find out they're going to take the mill levy cap off. Okay, so now you're going to increase my mill levy, and you're going to increase my property value. I have a 100-year-old house, and they compare it. When I call and talk to them, they have no properties that really compare to my property. So I started looking in town. And yeah, I can compare my house to a house in town, which is much less than what my house appraised for, or what they said it appraised for. So I have a problem with that. I really think that you really need to look at this more, because I have heard enough here to convince me that you need to make some cuts, especially during this time. I've heard all the how hard it is for people to make their bills. They have to do, everybody else has to cut their budgets so they can pay their, just like they said, all the expenses that you have every day, that you have every year, house insurance and all the insurances, and then pay for I understand Metro and City Airport. You have all these, okay, fine, did that. I'm retired, I'm on a fixed income, so yes, when I saw the mill levy cap coming off, even though it hasn't been raised for all these years, I feel like my property taxes have gone up every year since then, just because you raised my property, how much appraised, my property's worth. So all in all, you're still getting more than what you got. And yeah, you really need to reassess this. I just can't believe it. And I can't believe they took off the mill levy cap either, so that, and use this revenue neutral rate, so you don't know what it's like. Is there any, there should at least be a limit on how much you can raise it, at least that. So that's my comments.
Thank you, Ms. Collier.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments? Commissioners, any closing comments, or? All right. Then at this time, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing and close the notice of intent to go above the revenue neutral rate. Is there a second? Second. Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0. No other business coming before us tonight. We are adjourned. I would note, however, beginning on Thursday, we will move forward towards that finalization of our budget. So Today was the public hearing. The budget will not become final until some point after Thursday, but before September the 20th.
Did you just raise our taxes?
No, sir, we did not.
I was like, what the heck?
No, sir.
No.
But,
It sounded like it, that's all.
thank you, Earl.
He's fixing to raise our taxes.
All right, we are adjourned, thank you.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's all right. That's all right.
Thanks, sorry.
Thank you, you're good, you're good. Thank you, Earl.
Thanks, Aaron.
Yeah. Thanks for coming.
Are you gonna need to be there in case there's only one? That you need to know what.
Good to see you.